All right, hello and welcome to Stampscapes Friday Night Live. We're going to do a 5 by 7 inch pre-folded card. I mean, this is there's a little bit of a whatever, like a score down the center of this for pre-folding, so we can either do a scene this way. This is front and back, or you can always do a pre-folded card top and bottom like that. So sometimes I do things like this with the scene down below here, and this top portion is kind of, when folded out, becomes like a nighttime type of sky, because I do like utilizing the front and back, or both sides of these pre-folded cards for a scene, and I think it makes for a pretty dramatic presentation. And also, one of the other things you can do is you can always have your scene on the inside or outside of your card. So when you have it on the inside, it makes for a pretty dramatic reveal when you open it up, and you have this kind of like a splash page or a two-page spread like that. So I don't know, and sometimes you can just decide whether you want to do that after the fact. You can just stamp out your scene and, you know, decide on what you want, you know, in terms of the presentation of your, I don't know, whatever visuals. All right, so hello, Megan, Patty, and Mark. Good to see you all. We're going to base this scene around the covered bridge large version, okay? I'm going to put it up about like this, because even though these are pre-folded cards and I'm utilizing the full, whatever length, I guess, width of this card for one complete scene, I do tend to compose for one scene and then two, you know, kind of a, it doesn't, this back part doesn't have to be like a, you know, a really super cohesive, composed individual scene, but one more that's working in conjunction with the main one. So I do like to have this part as kind of a contained scene in itself. So I want it to look good just as is, okay? And this just kind of expands on it, okay? Same thing if this was a card like this and this was the nighttime type of sky, or you know, I say nighttime because it's, you know, like a really dark blue, so it has to be you know, it's not going to be high noon unless you really white it out with a lot of white pigment ink or something like that. Hello, Joni and Lynn. Good to see you. And Christine, Linda. Thanks, Patty. Hit that thumbs up like 10 times each, if that worked. Okay, so this is going to be the covered bridge again, but I got to lay down some white in the background in here, okay, in order for this stamp to really show up, you know, as dark as a black that we're going to use. It's still not going to have very much contrast against this dark blue paper. So I'll be laying down some white pigment ink as a base layer for my imagery, and then we'll stamp out our imagery, and then we go in and we lay down some additional white based on the location, the specific location that we end up stamping our imagery in. So sometimes you just have to guess, you know, I mean, I guess you could do preliminary impressions, like really kind of light, you know, or something like that. Like if I wanted to know exactly where that rooftop of that bridge can be, I guess I can take like a little, you know, ink marker or something like that in black and put a little line like right around in here and just kind of figure out where this is going to go and register it like that. I'd probably put a little bit of a line right up here where my block is, you know, just so I can line it up again. And this already has the fold in there, so I'd know that that would go up right against there. I guess it would only need one line right here, and you just add it up, you know, line it up again, stamp it out. But that's if I wanted to do something really specific and have like this rooftop of this covered bridge really kind of lit up specifically within this overall space. I don't really do that though. Like that, you know, degree of planning, I don't know. It seems like it would be kind of, I mean, it's a simple concept, but it adds a level of tedium that I'm, you know, not, you know, really wanting to employ. Hello, Jeannie. Hello in Nevada, Susan. Hello, Bill. Yeah, happy Labor Day weekend, Bill. If you go to sleep sometime soon, good night. It's like I usually look up at the screen. It's like, oh, Bill went to sleep, 20 minutes ago or something like that. All right, so what I always say in these pieces here, when you're laying down this kind of base layer, whether it be on like a matte blue cardstock like this one is, or your, I don't know, different types of foils, holographic or, metallics or something like that. If you're doing this kind of base layer in the background, I mean, I wouldn't say that, it doesn't matter at all, when it comes to your, kind of application, the smooth, you don't have to have it like completely smooth. I mean, you don't want it like to be like absolutely blobby, but it kind of can be, you know what I mean? By the time you stamp your imagery over the top of it, and then we do all our highlighting and shading and all that type of thing, this background doesn't matter as much as what it looks like when it's just been freshly applied and that's all we're looking at, okay? So, I when I'm doing this, I'm not doing it like just absolutely haphazard, okay? But my big point is that it doesn't have to be like super smooth or anything like that. So don't worry about like these little things like that. Everyone's kind of so used to kind of applying things and like blending it in like super meticulously, colored pencils and Gamsol or Copic markers and that type of thing, and trying to go for like I don't know, kind of like a machine type of smoothness, in terms of the transitions or something like that. In this type of thing, with what this represents and how we're utilizing it, it doesn't really need to be that perfect or anything like that, or not even close to it, okay? All right, so what I'm doing here is this area up top here is going to represent, if my imagery is down here, this is going to be like some clouds or something like that. Down here, it's just going to be within the body of our imagery. So there'll just be different kind of degrees of lighting in those areas like that. Hello in Winnipeg. How's everyone's weather doing? We're in some really nice weather here in Southern California, but I guess it's supposed to get up, like really hot again next week. Fahrenheit, it's supposed to be in the 90s, I guess, again. I thought we were kind of out of that. Besides like a real brief time in, was it June, was it? It seems like there was heat waves everywhere. After that, it was kind of I think it was a rather mild summer, which is kind of nice. But Linda, you said it was going to be like freezing temps again, right? Like in a week or something like that? Hello in Idaho! I was just thinking about Idaho a couple weeks ago. My friend lives in Boise. And I was thinking about my trip out there, teaching trip to a store called Got Stamps. And when I got out there, I asked him, I said, where'd you get the name for that? Who came up with the name for your store? I often asked owners that just out of curiosity. And they owned a dairy farm, so it was kind of like a play off of that milk campaign, Got Milk. It's like, okay. All right, so that's looking, it looks kind of darker to me. I'm looking at it like that from that angle, but man, that is really light at some angles right here. Brilliance ink has a little bit of iridescence to it, so it's a little bit reflective. from certain angles there. But I think that was the only time I've been out in Idaho. I should have made more teaching trips out that way. And just like taking I don't know, a few days out to check out some different areas of the state. Or just, I don't know, just some natural areas, which I didn't start doing until kind of the latter part of my heavy travel period, where I'd take a few days just to check out some sites when I was traveling around to some different areas. Especially that, ones that I just don't go to very often. Okay, I'm kind of going for these little squiggly things, just, like you'd see like in a cloud or something with that little wisp coming off of there like that. Just for something, a change, I guess. A beautiful long weekend. That's good, Nancy. More thunderstorms there. Yeah. I love thunderstorms. Not if it's lighting fires or anything like that, but, just in general. And not if I'm hiking. I used to read these manuals on, like day hikes and hiking safety and everything like that. And there was this whole chapter on, storms and things like that, and kind of where to go and, where to avoid. But I never got in that situation, but I was always prepped. So you're supposed to like crouch down on your like sleeping mat or something like that in kind of an open area, whereas like a lot of people's natural inclination, of course, is to go underneath, and find some shelter underneath a tree or, rock or so, you know what I mean? Something like that. All right. I think that is it. Hardly, a really smooth application, right? So I'm just praying this works out then. When I was doing this other one, when I was doing this one not too long ago, I don't know, maybe it's been a month at this point in time, but when I first got those first layers down, I was thinking, is this the way it's supposed to look, kind of that really super unresolved kind of, sketchy looking background. But as I worked through the process, it's like, okay, this is coming together. Because you kind of forget, how, certain steps of, these processes, if you don't do them too often. So, I don't know, I could have watched one of my videos or something like that, but, they put me to sleep, so I didn't. All right. So I think that looks pretty good. Now, this is one of those kind of interesting things. We have this kind of base layer type of thing. If you wanted to have some sort of, let's say this was on the interior of the card. So you open up the card this way and it opens like this, or, this could be the outside edge like that. But you can kind of one of those kind of visual bridges between the different areas of this card. They call it like sequential aesthetics. You can put like this little wisp in here, if like you're going to do like a quote stamp in here, whatever, happy birthday or something like that. It'd be cool to just have like a little wisp in there of this kind of texture in here, just to bring some sort of visual harmony and connection with the other part of the card. But anyways, I don't know, that looks pretty cloudy to me. If we took like a close-up of some cloud in the sky, I think. You can kind of move this stuff around. It doesn't dry real fast. You can do this with your oil-based pigment ink, white pigment ink as well, on this kind of uncoated matte cardstock. So, with an oil base, maybe it dries even slower. So it gives you time to kind of manipulate things and kind of move it around a little bit. All right, so anyway, in theory, maybe it'd be good to let this dry a little bit. I don't think we really need to. I just re-inked both of my white and black pads, so I think I should be able to stamp over the top of this and get a pretty decent impression. This paper here is a little bit textured too, so you know, kind of the smoother the paper, probably the more contact you're making with your rubber right here, and you can get a cleaner impression of it. But what I'm getting at here is this is now kind of built up on here, so you have a little bit of a thick medium on there, you know, even though it's flat, but, you know, on a, whatever, doesn't have to be a microscopic level, but it is raised and it is wet. So when you stamp over it with another ink, you know, you probably want to go with something as thick or thicker and nice and juicy so that it'll transfer over to the paper, as opposed to having this a little bit dry, stamping it in here, and you're lifting off the wet white, and you know what I mean, to some degree, and it might leave you with a really kind of pale impression. Now, if you're stamping on a, you know, stamp positioner platform type of thing, you can go for multiple impressions, but just ink up, you know, adequately. I think that looks nice and wet. Like I said, I just re-inked this, but I think my pad was pretty dry. I try not to over-ink this type of thing, like these pigment ink pads especially, because like if I don't use this ink for a while, it's probably going to dry up a little bit on me, because it is a faster drying ink. Just like your stays-on pads, you know, you don't want to over-ink it because it'll dry up on the pad, you know, usually before you have a chance to use it. So, all right. Mid-August forward, 21 Celsius. Okay, the nights are cool, so the greenhouse doors are closed. Got it. Nice in Michigan. It's smoky here in the Boise area from the wild. Ow! When were those fires up at? Was it last year? You know, it was that smoke. Was it fires in Canada, or was it fires in like across the borders? You know, blowing up into Canada. Yeah, I'm. We haven't had too bad of a wildfire season, knock on wood, in the Southern California area, but I don't know. You know, it's one of those things these days. It's kind of just a matter of time, I think. And then we had like record rainfalls, was it last year? And, you know, the rain, the fire air wasn't too bad last year. In some areas maybe, but Southern California, I don't think we had too much of a problem. Okay, so see how that's stamped out right there? It's a little bit grayish, okay, but I think it's good enough. It probably stamped out more like an 85% gray or something like that. I'm holding it at an angle like this because when I show it like this, it looks really light with all that light reflecting off of that. All right, so let's get into, I'm going to do this really large. I thought on this piece right here, this really large art foamy that goes from like top to bottom with the bridge would look pretty cool. Now I look at this, it's probably going to be like somewhat like this one right here. I'll try to make it different though. Or a little bit different. All right, let's see here. I have to look at this stamp. Okay, it's going this way. I've only been stamping like for what, like, I don't know, like 35 years. But sometimes I still ink up my stamp where I'm using like one side of it, and it's like, oh, I stamped up the, you know, I inked up the wrong side. You're inking up like this, and I'm inking up this side right here, thinking it's going to go like that, but no, it's flipped. But that being said, you want to ink up more than you think you're going to need, just so you don't stamp it out and, oh my God, we're missing like a 1/4 inch down the entire, you know, length of the trunk, you know, where you didn't ink it up. But that should provide a pretty, well, just like in the other one, it provides a really nice kind of visual framing device in there. I think I'm going to use a deer in here. No, I used one on that one. Okay. I was going to say I don't want to make it look exactly the same or anything like that. But we'll figure it out. I'm going to try to hold this down a little bit longer, and let me see if I can get a little bit of a darker impression here. My art foamies are on their way. I hope you enjoy those art foamies, Debbie. I really enjoy them. And for something like this, if it was in rubber form, we can get more detail out of rubber. Like, I don't know, it's like a decent percentage. But when it comes to impression ease, in these larger sizes especially, these foamies are really fantastic for that purpose. Like, I was telling someone that if I ever did something like a classroom setting with kids, I would go for these art foamies like this. They're so easy to make the impressions from. And I don't know, they're like indestructible, but they are pretty tough too, and remarkably, are resilient too, even though they're foam. So they're just, I don't know what type of foam they are, but they're super dense. All right, let's go for another one of these. Maybe this is going to come out like exactly like that other composition. But I do like that one, so I needed more practice on this anyways. Oh, so we have this crease right here, and that little nodule is like raised, okay? This one's the recessed side. But this right here, I found that it contours against kind of uneven surfaces really well because it's foam, which a rubber stamp, if I stamped it over the top of this right here, I'd probably get a little bit of an absence of any type of impression. I'd say at least like 1/8 of an inch in here. So it'd leave like this, I don't know, maybe not quite 1/4 inch or something like that, but it would leave a little bit of a gap in there where the image didn't make an impression. Now I just fill that in with a colored pencil, but let's just see on here if it stamps out pretty well along that raised centerfold. Hello, Beatrice. How are you? I just have to watch my cats. Yeah, those cats, huh? They'd love to. They might like to chew on them or kind of scratch at them, huh? If the cats ruin your foamies, you can make a little cat mobile out of them, toy, thing for them to play with. All right. Yeah, see that there is no space in between that centerfold crease at all. It contours beautifully with the raised, portion of that. I'm getting a really good impression right here now too. I don't know why. I think I'm holding the stamp down a little bit longer maybe. And maybe there's less white ink underneath this area right here than there was right here. So anyways, you see how these came out really dark? Now I'd prefer that to have come out darker, but in the art world you just say, well, it's lighter because it represents something farther back in the distance. So you meant to do it, in other words. Okay, now this right here, this covered bridge has this road kind of coming around this right here, and I have this whole space down here that's blank. Okay, so I'm going to take my sedge filler right here, and I'm going to create that road right in here. That doesn't look too good at all. But, oh, here's the thing. See, with a rubber stamp, I'm getting that kind of gap on both sides. But again, I'm going to be doing so much shading in here that, you know, this type of thing doesn't really matter. This is just kind of providing me with kind of a foundation where I'm going to plant or build up additional imagery, probably some additional trees, these kind of whatever deciduous trees in the background like that. So let's just go in and fill in right here, like so. If you want to be a little bit more careful with this one, you know, when you ink this up, just kind of blot it around the edges like I do with the cloud cumulus stamp, especially, or a lot of the those other types of images that are kind of more rectangular in shape that you want to blend in with, you know, their sibling imagery or additional impressions like that. But see how this is kind of real blocky right now and not really smooth? Well, it's just like the white in there. Okay, it doesn't have to go on there really smooth because we're going to be adding in additional things over the top of it in the form of shadows. With media, maybe some additional black brilliance ink, black colored pencil, white pastel pencil, all that type of thing, and then going over the top of it with some additional white like that. So a lot of this is going to get buried, you know, underneath all kinds of other textures that we're going to be applying in there. Foreground, you know. So I always point this out because, you know, sometimes people get into this process right here and they only remember kind of seeing the final result or something like that. So they get into something like this and they're thinking, oh man, you know, Kevin's didn't look like, you know, this, and it's all kind of, you know, it looks smooth and stuff like that, but they really don't. You know, they don't, oftentimes they don't, you know, there's a point in them or a long period of time where it, you know, it can look kind of sloppy. But again, it's just like, you know, those are just like the base layers right here. Texture stamp, tiny rocks right here. We'll add that down in this road right here to carry those textures of the road down here. We'll define this road a little bit more with some additional tone along the edges of it so it'll stand out a little bit more. But here's where these little rocks can come into play here as well. So you add this type of thing in here and it already starts to kind of texturally blend out the imagery. Not the, well, yeah, the textures. This really should go here, but boy, it is certainly looking just like that previous scene that I just did. So I think I'm just going to leave it like that. All right, so this is where there's some decision time happening with me in my head. I'm wondering if I should add in some shadows with some additional black ink, or if I should just start coloring in with colored pencil. I'm kind of looking at the trees right here for highlighting opportunities too, or additional white pigment ink. And I got a few things going through my mind, and I'm just trying to think of, is there a kind of a best sequence to do that in? And it might change, you know, from one scene to the next, you know, when I'm doing this type of technique right here. So there's no real kind of like, you know, like right and wrong, you know. So I'm just trying to think of a way to do that that's going to make it nice and easy. So let's see. Let me grab some. I have some additional deciduous trees like this. Oh, I'm just going to use these right now. It would be the maple pear would be the ideal ones. I'm just going to go for these ones right here, but I'll just use the tops of them because it has this little deciduous one right in the middle. So we'll do a little bit of fill in like that. Okay. And I'm just going to be using the tops of this one. Okay, not the whole length. Although I could put it like that. But I would really want to put it on the other side of that little, whatever, ridge or slope. Took a little long vacation, back watching you and learning a lot. A lot. I'm eyeing them foamies. Yeah, so we're talking about the foamies here. This was the one that, this is the composition that I did using those large trunks like that. And then I liked it so much that I did that whole kind of extended sequence of doing the same composition but using different papers and different colors, which is really fun. But they're really, the foundation was really those foamy trunks like that. So I don't remember if this was the last one, but yeah. See the little orbs right in here? It's little fairy types of orbs or something like that. All right, see that right in there? Some trees in the background. I gotta put another one right in here, but let's see. Let's mess that off and put another cluster of them right in here. We're gonna mask off like this right here. Lynn, when you're doing it, team up with Joni for this masking technique right here. Say, hey, you hold that paper and you'll hold the other one, and then get that impression right in there. Kind of under mask it a little bit. Then you got trees right in the background, so you see this kind of pointy type of thing like that. Then you have it over here, and these two regions right here, it gives it a little bit more of that again, like visual continuity between these two different areas. Remember, this is the folded card, so it's going to be like this. So people are going to be looking at the card like this. Oh, it's back like that. It's like that. It's in some ways, this is almost like when you're doing a folded card and you're doing front and back like this, or top and bottom. It's almost like three cards the way that someone's probably going to experience it, because usually when someone gets a card, it's on the front or something like that, okay, and they might only like flip it over like that and say, oh, like that. So it's like 1, 2, 3 pieces like that, okay. I mean, they're gonna, of course they're gonna have basically the same kind of spirit to them because it's one whole scene, but it's, in some ways it's like 3 different compositions. It's almost like a, whatever, intro, whatever, climax and conclusion or something like that. All right, so see how I filled in right there with some additional trees in the background. Let's put another one right over here, okay? So see this right here? It'll kind of frame this area off nicely, okay? With a similar shape. And we'll mask off like that. And come over here like this. Oh, yeah, I'm really excited about them too, Debbie. The Halloween. I really like creating, like I've done, like, speaking of the covered bridge, okay? I really love that. I think it was Disney, that Legend of Sleepy Hollow, and that guy's Headless Horseman, and they go to like that covered bridge. So I've done like scenes where I've done, I don't know if I have that right, or yeah, it's this one right here. So I put this into the scene, like it'd be like this, but I did it without the head, so I just color this figure in here without the head, and I've just cut out like a little orange like pumpkin and put it in their lap like that, so it becomes like a, like a Halloween type of scene. But Over the past, I think it's been a couple years, but I think it might have been last year when we were on the Facebook Stampscapes group. We did that. I don't know if it was a challenge or if it was just I did that one and then like Linda here did like 10. But I think I think it's like two or three people at least did several of those, kind of, like Halloween themed, it'd be like going to like a, monster amusement park or something like that. And we call them the monster maps, like MAPS, like a map for an amusement park. And then we just created like this little, whatever, like a little path or map, where you walk around and here's these little different kind of whatever displays, of whatever creatures. But it was kind of a nice excuse to add in a lot of different creatures all in one big scene, you know what I mean? Not have to worry about, or not really consider things like perspective or anything like that. So we can have things in the same size up here as down here, you know what I mean? Because it's like, again, it's more like an amusement park type of map. So those are really fun to do. But I'm looking forward to having more creatures though, to use. So it's like, okay, I'm finally designing some, like little creature types of elements to my scenes. So I really wanted to get some of those types of creatures that, just, I don't know. I don't know if they were ever out there, but I certainly don't have them. And I don't think a lot of people, those companies that used to have a lot of those types of imagery, a lot of them just aren't around anymore. So, we got a lot of discontinued types of things. So even if, I was using them in my scenes, in the past, it's like, hey, Kevin, where do I get that, that Ken Brown, creature at the Black Lagoon? And it's like I kept having to say, well, it's not around anymore, but here's this other image, from Viva Las Vegas that's kind of the same. Or not the same, but similar. So I was like constantly looking around for people online trying to find some kind of alternatives that were similar to some of the designs that I had. So anyway. Okay, so we have this right now. Remember how I was talking earlier, if we were on when I kind of first jumped on here, but I was talking about how we could kind of stamp out our imagery a little bit beforehand, just as some sort of registration impression, really kind of light, just so we know, where to add on a little bit of extra white or something like that. Like on this rooftop right here, I think it'd be good to make that a little bit lighter, because it's being top lit by the moon. So I'm just going to go in here, and the good thing about having it underneath this is, there's these little slats on here, or wood planks or something like that, whatever, roofing on here with those lines, okay? Now if I lay down some white underneath this that was a little bit lighter right in here, then I'd have the benefit of being able to see those lines still. But if I put the white over the top of it, it's going to obscure those. So that's the only thing about doing this afterwards, is that you lose some of the detail. But it's just, it's just like so much easier though, and less hassle though. So I tend to opt for that. Like it's not that big of a sacrifice, in relation to the amount of work that it would require for me to do that extra step. Okay, here we go like this. And I'm masking off right there. And that's where that rooftop is, okay? Now if you noticed in that moon, I didn't mention it, but I kind of made it a little bit varied in terms of the lighting on there. I'm going to do the same with this rooftop right here. So I'm going to put a little bit more, maybe I should have been lighter in the back end instead of the front, but I'm going to go a little bit lighter right here in the front of the covered bridge. And I'm just going to transition to a little bit darker like that. And I think that this looks better when we do these transitions right here. So that was my big lesson on those tree trunk shadows and things like that. It's transitioning your tones. We transition the lighting, and we transition the shadows. I mean, you could go, like really super graphic and bold with, you know, super straight lines and things like that, you know, if you want to make kind of some sort of point with that, you know, which is cool to do too. But see that right there where it just kind of like just peters off like that. You know, I tend to think that's a little bit more, you know, developed of a lighting than just solids everywhere or on the moon like that. You know, how it just kind of transitions a little bit down there like that. It's just one of those little tweaks that I didn't always do, but I think, you know, somewhere along the line, I just thought that looked kind of more interesting or, like I said, more developed. It's really less work for us, too, because we're applying less ink, right, in theory. Okay, so let's add on some lighting onto our trees, okay? I was trying to straighten this out, but these are all crumpled up now. I'm just going to use this new paper towel right here. And we're going to add in some lighting on the sides of the tree, facing the light source, okay? Like so, that's kind of real blocky, smudgy. There we go. So it's real smudgy right there, which I don't want. I'll just go back in there with a colored pencil, black colored pencil, and, you know, remedy that later. So again, don't sweat that type of thing. All right, so see that right there. This is where I think this is like part of the process when I was doing this one right here. I thought, yeah, you know, that doesn't look too good. So on that one, I was like taking my own advice. Don't worry about it right here. But on the inside, I was thinking, I don't know if it's supposed to look that bad. You know, as I was doing it, you know, to be completely truthful. I wasn't sweating it, but I don't know. Just I remember the thought did occur to me. I don't know. You know. You know, so that being said, maybe I should be a little bit more forthcoming, you know, during these live streams when I get that type of, when that type of notion crosses my mind. So that those types of things, it might be going through my head once in a while, but it's just like one thing amongst many. But you know, I'm just thinking, okay, just stick with the process though, too. And you know, I'm always confident that when you employ all these different types of techniques in there, everything is going to come out, which it usually does. All right, so see, those are the sides of the trunks right there. So we definitely lost definition in there. But then again, that's where, you know, this is how these trees right here, okay, looked, you know, at this stage right here. So we add on all those extra blacks in here. There's blue, you know, acrylic pens and things like that. So these are all smudgy right here, and these ones are defined because we haven't done the definition of these ones yet on these ones here, okay? So that being said, I pray this comes out. Did I just say that out loud? Or was I just thinking it? I'm joking. Okay, so there's the lighting on the side of this one. So this is what we call kind of like soft lighting. On here, we'll do more defined lighting on there with the acrylic paint pens and things like that. Okay, so light on the light side facing the light, and dark on the opposite side of the trunks. And I'm just going to use the same pigment ink right here. I'll go in with the colored pencil too. Sometimes when I get into that colored pencil work, sometimes I'm thinking, I could have just done this whole thing in colored pencil because the colored pencil is really fast to apply. All right, so here, maybe I don't need to mask. I don't think. I think I can just go like this. All right, and there you have your whatever, dark side of the tree. When you're applying it with a cotton ball like this, it takes me back to my days of like art school and using a lot of charcoals. That's what it kind of feels like I'm doing right here in some ways, because a lot of times in charcoal drawings too, one of the tools in your kit was this little chamois towel, and you take a chamois towel and you spread your graphite or charcoal around, Conte crayon. All right, so we have that, and let's see. Can you tell which way my shadows will be cast from these trunks right here? If Lynn's still on, he should know. All right, so I just did a lesson on kind of lighting direction and just in general, okay? What you do is you go over to your light source right here and you go down to the base of your objects right here. So my shadow being cast by this trunk right here will be roughly like right here. And then you keep this right here and see how that angle is right here. So it's like, you know, between right here, it looks like, you know, the angles for these trunks right here are kind of like, oh, like that, I guess, okay? So that's just kind of a general thing. You don't have to like stick, you know, exactly to it, but I do like to go in and sometimes, you know, just add a little bit down like that, just, you know, to get my bearings right there, so I can kind of see that little shadow like that. And that just kind of, I don't know, adds a little bit of kind of realism to your shadows when you do kind of like, or your scenes when you do accurate shadows like that, or semi-accurate, okay? In terms of the vanishing point for those light sources right here. So see that right here? You can kind of see that, you know, that shadow like that, okay? And let's fill that in. Just kind of like a base layer. I'll go into it more with, you know, my colored pencil and add in some textures. I'm going to add a little bit of a stronger base to this tree as well. Let's anchor it down with a little bit more tone at the base of it. So I'll go a little bit darker up right around here, and we'll take that up the tree like this. Same thing over here. I'll anchor this down a little bit more like that. All right, so we have that shadow like that. And I'm not going to worry too much about shadows like being cast by these types of trees, or I'm not going to cast a shadow in here, with this ink at least, okay? But I think that's given us a pretty good foundation for our composition right here. You know, these darker tones like this are really kind of anchoring down. I don't know, don't you think the scene has a lot more kind of visual stability now and kind of visual weight with these trees kind of anchored down in shadow? It gives them visual weight and it gives the objects like more mass. And when you have things like that in a scene like that, everything seems a little bit more solid. You know, you just feel kind of more stable, like visually stable like that. Let's see, let's add a little bit of tone around here on these trees maybe. Let's do something here too. Let's give the whole card just a little bit of a vignette like this. So I'm coming in from the edges like this, and I'll kind of darken up like these corners a little bit. See how this kind of sky right here, there's no variation in at all. So let's go and add yeah, like a vignette type of thing. Try to transition it a little bit from darker to lighter like that. I mean, it's really dark. It's black to dark, you know, and real, you know, but you can kind of transition it somewhat. Not just like, you know, hammer like black there. It's like this big blob right there. Okay, so you can just kind of, you know, kind of spread it in there. See, I'm kind of using like a dry application of it like that. Let's do this too. We'll go on the bottom corners as well. This one already had it with it, you know, the trunk right there. But see, didn't that? Do you feel like it's? See, it's kind of contained a little bit more now from a compositional standpoint. Okay, let's see. Oh, you like the monster maps, huh, Candy? Those are certainly fun. I think I did. Did I do two or I did three? I think. I'm trying to remember. Weren't they 11 by? I think they were 11 by 17 that I did. But you know the perfect monster map paper. Okay, it's not right next to me, so I'm not going to grab it. But that aged kind of vintage paper, I think would be perfect for the monster maps. It's only got 8.5 by 11, but that aged kind of weathered looking paper, I think it'd be pretty cool for those monster maps. It would be certainly quick and easy. Just kind of stamp out your imagery and do a little bit of shading here and there. Oh yeah. And the glow in the dark vinyl sticker papers should be really fun too with the new imagery. Having a nice kind of glow in the dark kind of foundation might be interesting to work with. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit, I'm doing some fine tuning here around here. See, I want the rooftop to stand out a little bit lighter, so I just took this black and I just put a little bit behind there. So in art school, you would say, okay, it made this area pop. So you go a little bit darker next to something that you want to stand out a little bit more that's light, okay? So you just create a little bit more contrast. So even if you add something like this, okay, just a really faint shade of gray, okay, it's like a 5% gray or something like that. If I add a 5% gray tone in the back there, that white next to it, or it doesn't have to be white, but just anything that's lighter than that tone back there becomes, it looks 5% lighter because of that contrast. So, you know, you can play this contrasts around. So if you ever make something a little bit too dark, oh my God, I lost my lighting there or something like that, then you just make some area next to it a little bit darker, and then it'll make your area that you thought maybe became too dark, it'll make that area or object or area on an object look lighter. So you can play contrasts against one another. That's one of the nice things about scenic stamping too. There's no kind of like set, you know, look that something's supposed to have. You know, because there's different times of day, you know, that we can depict, and it just looks, you know, looks completely natural. All right, so oh, a swamp creature for the bayou set, yeah. Well, I do have those frogs. That frog cluster would be good, and yeah, you know what I always wanted was a crocodile. Not that that's Halloween, but that was one, like a swimming one with its eyeballs coming out. Yeah, the creature of the Black Lagoon, though. I got in touch with that Ken Brown. I should ask him if he has that artwork for that. That Ken Brown, this guy that was making these stamps like a really long time ago, was he was doing like videos for Sesame Street. He's still out there. I found him on. I've mentioned this before, but I found him on doing a search on the internet and sent him a note. And he's on Instagram. He's like posting all the time, just kind of walking around. I think it's New York or something like that. Okay, now remember how I said I was going to make this little road stand out a little bit more, so I'm going to tone in the surrounding type of whatever grassy area. Like that. See, just a little bit of tone like that. We're going to put in some like grassy reeds and things like that in foreground too. In the end, but let's do it like this. I'm starting to see things a little bit clearer now. Okay, so we have this moon right up here, and this lighting is on this rooftop. I'm going to illuminate this road just a touch with some little bit more of this white pigment ink right in here. Can't tell, is that getting lighter? Alright. It's a little bit lighter right here just to follow this kind of this lighting path, where things are a little bit lighter in some areas. I just lost a lot of my definition of these rocks, so I'm going to restamp some of these rocks. So we have lighter ones that are underneath the white and then darker ones that are on top of the white, okay? So you just always remember that you can go back and add in. There's going to be certain types of sequencing things that you want to kind of generally stick with, but you can always go back and add in more of something, and see it more as a circular process than like an A to B, or A to Z type of thing, linear, and where you can't go back and make alterations, using whatever media or imagery that you've already used. Okay, so let's see. Let's start getting into some of the more defined details here. I might even be able to use like blue in here, but white pastel pencil. I find that when I'm going over like darker things with my white colored pencil, it doesn't stand out very much, but the pastel will, okay? And then I have the blue and black colored pencil, okay? And then after we do that, we'll go in with the acrylic paint pens. All right, so let's see how this goes right here. Okay, I'm thinking about this pastel. I'm going to use this one first before my colored pencil, because this pastel pencil, again with the sequencing with certain things, this pastel pencil isn't going to stick, to wax, from the colored pencil, so I'm going to add the pastel first. So kind of remember transitions again. So I'm kind of adding this against my tree trunk like this, okay? And then I'm trying to transition it a little bit. I should get another example piece of paper, okay? So it's a little bit heavier, and then you kind of dissipate it from there and over this way, okay? Oh, here, you'll be able to see it on this one a lot easier. So I add in like that, okay? And then you transition it. So I'm just kind of using a lighter touch. All right, so you have something like that, all right? Again, it's really not defined at all because, we'll get into that with the acrylic paint pens. Okay, let's see. Go on that rooftop. Maybe do these little kind of checks like that. A check in itself is kind of a transition too, because I'm not going like that. I'm going like that, or like that. It's a little bit heavier, and then as it moves out, it's a little bit lighter. Kind of like that. I was thinking, or is it? Okay, let's see. Some of these tops of these deciduous trees with a little bit of this is kind of like a base layer coat, for my acrylic paint pens that we'll use on here. This is pastel, so you can kind of, blend it out a little bit more. Something like that. There's some deciduous trees amongst the, in the middle of the tree cluster stamp. So I'll add some of this into there. These bushes down here. If you can't see exactly where they are, just kind of fake it and just kind of add a few little oscillating little textures like that. Okay. There's some rocks in here, and I'm just kind of adding this little bit of the top of the rock like that, so those rocks stand out a little bit more, like that. Here's the grassy textures from the sedge filler. Go into our road a little bit. It's kind of weird. I don't feel like I'm I have too much white pigment ink down here, so it's just, this isn't applying at all. It kind of filled in the texture of the paper. Okay, I think that is it with highlights. So, like really super soft highlights right here. I might want that rider right in here that I was showing you. I'm not going to go headless on this one though, but let's see. But when I was looking at this, I thought that might look pretty good right here. And let's see. Let's go ahead and add this one in, I think. I think it'll make a pretty cool visual anchor for the scene. Or I don't know, anchor, but visual focal point maybe is more like it. I was kind of aiming for like directly underneath that moon right there. Let's see, you're going to hang your monster maps in the carport this year as a Halloween gallery. That'd be cool, Linda. It'd be cool to kind of have like these monster maps or something like that, and have like some kind of like, I don't know, eerie lighting around them or something like that. Monster map on a big canvas picture for Halloween, and add some fairy lights. Oh, there, yeah. So yeah, we're talking about the same thing, Debbie, with with some kind of cool lights on them. Yeah, Kathy, don't you think that really made that, that scene, that object kind of pop out from the background, didn't it, by illuminating it like that? So any type of like cabin or structure like that, what you do is you just take, no, I think I use, because this is really narrow, I use 3 pieces of paper just to mask that off, but usually I just do, if there's a larger roof, I just do 2 pieces of paper, like one on the diagonal and one on the top. And then I just transition that lighting on it like that. So like the cabin, any of the cabins, I think I've done it on the watermill too, or something like that. So our character and the bridge like that. All right. All right, let me see if I can get, I don't know if I've used like this blue on previous blue scenes, but I thought maybe we ought to go for a little bit of, I don't know if you can see that blue right there. I think that looks pretty interesting. I didn't say it looked good. Remains to be seen, but let's try using it in there a little bit and see if, I don't know, a change of, not hue, but I don't know, it's like the tone of blue is a little bit different. I don't know if you can see that right in here. That was pretty cool, though, I think. But it's because, you know, it's also because I haven't seen it before. Like I said, remains to be seen if it's kind of really effective or not. This isn't doing too much over this black area right in here. But what I'm doing, like, it's not going to read very clearly because this blue is like a lighter color than that black in here. But see that right there? I think it's kind of giving the shadow a little bit more, I don't know, variation and kind of depth maybe. Yeah. Yeah, I think I like the colored pencil blue in here. I don't know, just it adds another tint, I guess, of blue or something like that. Let's add a little bit to the side of this covered bridge. Think about like that. On this road, maybe a horse is like casting a very subtle shadow down here. It kind of makes it look like it's glowing a little bit more in these shadow areas with this. What is this? True blue. Any kind of medium, you know, darker blue I think would be cool. I mean, you can do like a, you know, several variations of it maybe. All right, so something like that. Yeah, I can see this blue here and there. It kind of, I don't know, like I said, it kind of glows a little bit. All right, let's go to black. Oh, that's not black. Hitting the far side of the tree. In other words, the side of the tree opposite the lighting, okay? Add a little bit more at the base of it, maybe. And I can go into these textures and kind of redefine them where I covered them all up with, you know, like white pigment ink. You can, if you want to get a little bit more variation, just go right back over the white with the colored pencil again. Just to make those certain areas a little bit darker. Not the whole thing, otherwise there's no point in adding the white, but I'm just saying in the, like the shadow areas that you had to cover up with the white to illuminate that side of the tree. You can just go in and kind of add a little bit more contrast again with the pencil, but still have that lighting on the side of the tree from the pigment ink, okay? A little bit more of a shadow from the horse. So speaking of those new designs, I'll be working on sizing again for the rest of the night. And that's one of the hardest things to do. Sometimes even more than designing and rendering the objects, it's like getting the right ratios down for the designs, because you have to think about how you're going to be using them, how other people are going to be using them, how many you can fit on the plate from a practical standpoint, and going larger or smaller. If you go 7% smaller on two designs, then I might be able to add in another design that I couldn't, add in before. So people, so practical standpoint, you can give more stamps for, for your money, but there might be just slightly smaller versions of it. So it's just trying to figure that out. And of course, with each new batch of designs, there's no formula to it, because all the designs are different sizes. So it's like a little bit, there's a lot of design work, a lot of creativity, a lot of rendering and stuff like that. But it's also like, I don't know, it's like math, with ratios and things like that. All right. So, see, I think the lighting scheme is kind of coming about a little bit more and more, isn't it? The more you do this, it's like coming into focus like slowly too, but every time I look up here, it seems to be a little bit more resolved. Let me give the side of this tree a little bit more of a crisper edge, like that, which is kind of a nice complement to the other side of the tree, that has this kind of sharper light edge with the highlighting. So darker with the shadows, like that, and crisper with the shadows, which this light side will get more of too with the acrylic paint pens. Okay. All right. That, and I think I could probably use all three of these types of pens in here somewhere, since I use that same, similar color, with the colored pencil like that too. See that right there? Those two colors are roughly the same, or really similar in terms of tone and value. Hello, Chris. Chris, I'm doing those two different sizes of those structures. That was the thing that I was working on today. It was like, okay, let me think here. Those churches here, I'll do a left and right side of it, or if I had it turned or something like that. I'm doing it like a smaller size, but flipped, so it's like not the exact same stamp, just flipped, Oh, 3 scenes large, they connected. That's right. Yeah, those monster maps are fun. Okay. Why did you make the moon smaller in this version? Just so, because I don't want the exact same scene, Chris. It almost is. I didn't want to just do the exact same scene, except here we can do it with the covered bridge, and the other one's like, night moon, right side or whatever that name of that stamp is. I abhor kind of doing the same thing over and over again. That's why I never did those in exchanges years ago. I don't know if people are still doing them or not, but it's like stamp exchanges. You make like 6 or 7 the same. I don't know. It depends how big your exchange was, but you do a certain number of scenes of the exact same scenes, and you send out the originals. Like I said, and I think I did that, a couple times way back when, but yeah. Now, if I was doing like Christmas cards or something like that, then I'd mass produce, but I wouldn't want to do like this scene that's taken so long. I wouldn't be able to just doing, just basically the same image over again. just, you know, aside from like one main image or something like that in there. All right, so this is the darker of my 3 different pens right here. And these are, they're pretty opaque. So I want my lightest one to be on the top for, kind of roundness, okay? So I'm adding a little bit more. Now this, like I said, this one's the darkest of the 3, so this could be done as kind of a foundation, like a base layer highlight or something like that. But that's standing out pretty good though. So I'm not going to apply a huge amount of it because it is reading as highlights. In other words, if I was going with a darker pen that's closer to this blue right here, it might kind of merge visually into the background a little bit more. In which case maybe I'd use, I would add a little bit more texture, but this stands out pretty good, so I'm not going to add, an abundance of it everywhere. All right, let's see. I think that's pretty good for that blue right there. Or in the trees. I'll add some on these bushes down below, like so. This is the type of thing I really, I don't know. I don't know if this for me is not tedious, because I like watching how things kind of come into focus, okay? And a lot of times, like this piece right here is really starting to come into focus when I'm adding these kind of finishing touches on it. It's rounding out that in kind of a complementary form, the things that we were applying first, very vague types of light and shade on here, okay? And this is a very like crisp and specific type of detailing on the scene. So it's like it has to have that thing. If I'm going to do these vague kind of areas like that really obscure things, it going full circle and coming, to its like complement, on here is needed. So for it to really read and balance. So I really like adding that in there like that. See, like this area in the background. Now, some of this is too much. It's like crawling with the little dots or something like that. But that's where I'm going to come in. After all this, I'm going to just put another layer of that like foggy mist in here. And then that kind of, finishes things off really nicely for me. So in other words, when I'm doing that too, I don't have to be like super careful, about kind of going overboard, because I just know that, that last touch of pigment ink on there, it tends to resolve kind of overdoing it, with this type of pen, which I always do, or often do at least. Because I don't know, because first of all, it's like fun to do for me, so I add a lot of it in there. All right, so see this? So we're getting a little bit of that texturing on the trees like so. Remember, I haven't added any like my foreground in here either, so that's going to come in here too. All right, let's see. I'm searching around in here looking for areas that, from a textural standpoint, can use a little bit more. Let's go down here a little bit. And that is the blue here. I won't do too much with this one right here. I'll just get into that white, and then we'll do some foreground in here. Now this is a pretty big scene. I don't know what time are we on this one right here? 1:20. You know, this is like a full page scene right here. But I don't tend to think, you know, I don't think I'm going to spend another 40 minutes on this, taking, you know, 2 hours to do this scene. But I tend to think that these, you know, these largely monochromatic pieces come together relatively fast. Yeah, because, you know, the majority of what we're doing is just black and white on here. Which I should do one of these. I don't know if I've done one of these types of pieces just on like gray paper, you know. I think it's always been on colored, like dark colored cardstock, blue and purple, I believe. I don't know, that lunch bag type of brown it's kind of lighter. I don't know. I guess that could be thrown in the same kind of mix. All right, so that is that lighter blue. You can see a little bit of variation in there. This area in here could probably use a little bit more definition. Black colored pencil probably. But let's add in our foreground in here. We might not have to do any of that type of thing because we'll have some nice crisp imagery, foreground imagery right in here and overhanging in these areas like that. Let's see how we bring dark into the light. You mean with the transitions, Linda? Those are some big trees. They're like sequoias there, huh? All right, so there's the white. Boy, that white is really light against that background. Highlights on the tops of some of these rocks. We did it a little bit with that colored pencil, but you can add in kind of an extra little touch in there. A little bit more maybe lighting closer to the moon on some of these the tree foliage. All right, so I got that. This is where the kind of the piece for me starts to come alive with this textural contrast and kind of shimmering light. I like a real shimmery type of light, like sparkly, usually. All right, something like that. Now let's go in. Oh, let's see. No, I think let's come in with the white pigment ink first, because then I'll be able to stamp over it with a crisp black imagery. Yeah, we'll keep the foreground imagery nice and sharp, okay, and dark. So did everyone get what I was talking about there? See, if I stamp up my foreground imagery and then I add this white pigment ink, you know, kind of mist or something like that into the scene, then, you know, those foreground imagery, a lot of it or parts of it is going to get kind of illuminated and diffused. I want those ones to be nice and crisp, and I'll show you what I mean when I get to that. All right, so adding in some of this little fog into here. See, I'm kind of altering the that side of the trunk right there a little bit from a value standpoint. It's getting lighter. About like so. Okay, and let's go right back in here, I think. Let's do this here. We'll mask it off too. Like right on that grassy slope right there. And then we'll do some of this. Just something I was just showing Lynn in that lesson, you know, kind of adding in some of that, you know, that mist at the base of my objects and transitioning it, going from lighter to darker, which means wetter to drier like that. All right, let's do this too. We'll put a little of that in the background right here. I'm just looking for little opportunities to add this in. It's not like, you know, this is the spot that it should go, or you know what I mean? I'm just kind of adding it here and there, but, you know, trying to mix it up a little bit in terms of placement. Something like that. It pushes that tree kind of back in the distance a little bit. Here. We'll put the rider and a little bit of fog. Yeah, something like that, so they're kind of being illuminated a little bit more. They're like in the spotlight. Which makes sense because they're kind of the visual focal point of the or landing spot of the scene. All right, let's take a look here and let's add in some imagery here. Is Joni and Lynn still watching? I need to contact you via email, but you wrote $3.99 on an order. This image right here, these leaves are $3.99, but it's an E size image. Is that what you intended to order? I'm laughing because I'm making an inquiry in a live stream as opposed to just emailing. But I figured they might be asleep by the time I finish this scene here. And I wanted to get that order out as soon as possible. Dark pigment ink leaves for overhanging foliage right here. Okay. I'm adding it kind of like right around here in this upper left-hand corner just to kind of see that we can do that little vignette of a darker area up there, but you can also you can create a vignette using these leaves like this coming down like that. So you wanted the 399E then, right? I was trying to think of, sometimes it's, if there was a different image that's one off, but it's an A stamp. I was trying to figure that out, but I was thinking, you might have wanted the leaves. It was the leaves that I used, like overhanging, like in here, on all those pieces. Okay, and let's come down. Okay, once again, I want to make this scene right over here kind of its own scene in itself, so I'm going to kind of create a little bit of this corner vignette here with leaves because this is a folded card, so I also want it to look like a decent scene just like that, okay? Let's put some leaves kind of going in front of that moon too. For dramatic effect. See this right here? So it kind of frames off with these leaves going like that. That looks like a halfway decent, like half-page scene. It's not quite, it's 5x7, but... All right. Here's the thing with this road coming out here. Normally I frame things off like that, but this is this road right here, so I'm not gonna put like the, well, I guess this could be like the foreground right here and the road's down there. Like you're looking off a little bit of a slope that goes down to that road right there, but I think I'm gonna largely not put anything right there. And here's where I put that sedge filler stamp right here. It went like this and like this, okay? So it's like I said, this is like looking off a little bit of a slope down at that road right here. So I'm gonna put some of these reeds like right in here, like this, or any type of grass would do. I mean, you can use these same leaves down here, coming up from the bottom. It'd be a little bit redundant, but it could be bushes down below, where up top it's like hanging limbs or something like that. Okay, let's see. That's a little bit cluttered in there. Let's remedy that. I'll go with my black pigment ink cotton ball here, and we'll just blend this in a little bit more with some additional tone. Right in here. I'm cutting down the contrast between some of these reeds in that background. Okay, no, you don't want to take it too far because those reeds, when they dry, they're going to dry lighter looking than how they look now with the freshly applied ink, like that. All right, let's see. Fine-tune colored pencil work. Okay. It's almost like a different tone of, it looks like violet like that. And this looks like I don't know, whatever. What kind of blue is that? Like an ultramarine or something? All right. A little bit glary like that. Okay. That's all my studio lights coming off of it. Let me see. That's about how it looks, though, like that, without all that glare on it. Okay, so you have front area. The back area needs, like, I need to put, like, some kind of little subject. Like I said, I don't want to put that deer down here. This area in here would be kind of interesting. I'd have to mask off these, but do a little bit of splatter painting of, like, you know, like some stars coming up in there like that. That would be kind of interesting. Maybe just a couple of them. Not like a whole splatter painted scenario. That would be kind of better. Let's see. Yeah, I'm with you, Chris. That's too much repetition in those you know, those older types of exchanges. Now, would you see stars, you know, on a full moon night? No. But this isn't photography. This is like my ideal types of, you can create our own ideal worlds. And for me, I love seeing a full moon, but I also like being out on like nights, you know, where that's like, you can see like so many stars. It's so amazing. So those are my 3 tones of blue, or 2 tones of blue. And then we'll do a couple white like that. All right, so from a textural standpoint, I think that looks pretty decent. I didn't really leave space in here. This wouldn't be a good part for a area for like a word stamp, but sometimes if you have like nothing going on, you have your kind of your visual focal points right here, really strong ones in both the moon and this, you know, the bridge, and then this character right here. There's nothing really going on the back, but sometimes you can do like your word stamp, you know, somewhere in this area, not in this composition right here, where that, you know, there's like the space right here for it, but you know, and again, this could be like the interior right here, where you have your greeting or something like that, or word stamp, you know, and then open it up like that. I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I do like the idea of these things being the interiors, just because it's, I think it makes for a really dramatic presentation. Or you could do something where it's like sequence, and you can do a whole different scene right here. Then it's like the intro, body, and conclusion right here. You know, I usually keep it kind of simple out here, but I don't know. Now I'm thinking about it like this. It'd be like a little book or something, you know, which kind of it'd be kind of cool. I don't know. But I don't know. You can take advantage of, like I said, the inherent folded format of you know, a card base like that to create kind of like a little mini book scenario, which might be kind of cool. So I don't know, different options, I guess. Maybe do 3 of them, where one's on the outside like this, or whatever. It could be on the inside, or whatever it is. One you make the card for where it's on the opposite interior exterior, and another one where you're doing, that sequencing of three different pieces. This looks interesting right here. Where I have this fold in here. That color looks complete. It looks brown right there with that shading on there. It looks kind of cool though. It's like warm light, cool light. Okay, but it really isn't. It's just that lighting that's kind of hitting it that way, like that. Anyway, so one of the things about this thing, I think it's a really good lighting kind of exercise to go through because you're already starting with you can start off with in art classes you'd be starting off with a little bit more of a neutral, like a gray base, and it might be like a 50% base or something like this. So this one's a cool, 85% dark blue paper. But, the concepts are the same as far as just kind of developing your shadows and lights on there. On this one here, I happen to do it with both soft and sharp shadows and lighting, with the pigmenting pads there. So the colored pencil provides the sharp, more detailed shadows, and the black one was the soft one, and the soft light. The pastel pencil is kind of soft too, but then you get into your pens like this, and this is the more kind of defined light. So you're working with sharps and softs in both, in a range of dark and light, right? So if that makes sense. So it's a really good exercise to do, and like I said, it for the size of card, it doesn't take too long to do because you're just not working through like a ton of colors, like with colored pencils or Copic markers or something like that, ink pads, so it can, but I think that they're nice and full and rich, in their whatever monochromatic splendor. Let's see right here. Oh, you'd use the acrylic paint pen, huh, Chris? Yeah, the acrylic paint pens are awesome, aren't they? Glad you liked it, Beatrice. An owl flying down in that other area. Hey, that would be a good idea, I think. I do have that owl in the desert scene, huh? Like up in the night sky, kind of flying in that direction, huh? That'd be cool. Yeah. This almost could be a Halloween scene still. I didn't mean for it to be, but it could be. Like okay, so if I was making this into like a little Halloween scene, I'd do like those like, Scooby-Doo kind of like eyes in the like the shadow areas in here. I'd put a bunch of these little beady eyes like back in the distance right there in those darker areas and like down here. I don't know. In here, so we can Halloweenify this scene. Yeah, that's a good idea, Debbie, with the moon. It's so special, I'd have to keep it for myself. So you'd finish this piece, Beatrice, and you'd say, "It is mine." Or you can intend it for someone, So, but then it gets, you like it so much, then you keep it for yourself, So you can say, "Well, it's the thought that counts," and you did think about, originally giving it away to someone. You can tell them. You write your saying on a piece of vellum. Oh, yeah, that's another great idea. Yeah, there's some good ideas here, Debbie. Yeah. Trying to recreate the look of an old black and white photo. I don't know. I guess the black and white photo types of scenarios for me. I guess if it's a really, like an antiqued one, it's just by doing something like this on I would do it on the vintage paper so it looked like one of those like super aged looking prints. I think this would look really good on that vintage paper. just that cheap, paper that you run through your, you know, your printer. But I would do something like that because then it would have all the kind of those textures in there and like those little spots and stuff like that. And I think that would be really cool. But I don't know. I don't know if I've like gone into it. I've done monochromatics, where it's supposed to be like a black and white looking print. It's in the spirit of that. Or we do a monochromatic full grayscale, type of rendering, and then I've gone into it and then I've tinted with light tones of inks like the Adirondack Lights Aqua, or um, what is it, the Peach Bellini or something like this. This one gives it kind of that more warm, aged look. But it's kind of going in, and tinting like a black and white photo in the spirit of, colorizing those prints. So it's not like, it doesn't have to go way back in time, like when I was in, when there was camera stores around, fully equipped camera stores, there were often inks for, colorizing usually your black and white photos. And they were all kind of like really pale tones. And I believe they were probably water-based dyes, I'm guessing. So, that's what do we use in rubber stamping. So you can give it kind of that look, you know what I mean? But I tend to think that if you really want to go for something really aged looking, photo printy type, then going with that vintage paper would be good. And okay, so that reminds me too. I was thinking about some of those more antique types of prints, instead of going maybe with like black ink, on some of those papers. It's more of like there's a real warm kind of linen, well, not linen, I don't know. There's a warmth to it, like like an old paper, okay. But the imagery on those photo prints is not like real black because it's aged, and it's like faded out a little bit. So I think Linda and I, we were talking about this too, right? Did you printed something? I forgot what color you did. We were just talking about this in one of the other live streams. But what was that color that I can't remember that color that you used, Linda? For that lighter print, you know what I mean? Instead going with like black, you know what I mean, for like a photograph idea. Hello, Vintage Scrap Girl. Good to see you. Christine, you're going to be heading into some probably warm weather out your way in this next week. But yeah, I don't know. The monster maps were kind of black and white. You know what I mean? When we say photos, I don't know if it's going for something super photographic or anything like that. Yeah, you forgot to send it, huh? You forgot to send it forever. What you do, Beatrice, is you get that, stamped out like that, and you just put it in your your inkjet, all-in-one color printer, and you send them the like a print of it. Glad you like it, Janie. I put candy eyes all over my son's apartment during graduation on the butter in the cat food egg carton. Now, what do you mean by that, Debbie? What's candy eyes? Peerless watercolors are from tinting photos. Okay, peerless watercolors, huh? They are watercolor dye on a card that you activate with water. Is that it? I don't remember what. I've only seen those dyes once in this camera store that I was in like 30 years ago or something like that. But I thought, there's those dyes. I think it was like in a box or something like that. So I didn't take a good look at it. Ash Tabula. I'm having a hard time pronouncing that, Darlene. Ashtabula County in Ohio. We have 19 covered bridges. So that's one of those things. I used to go to that um, Akron and Cincinnati show. And I just did not get out, you know, around Ohio enough. I especially should have checked. I forget what that. I don't know if it's a state park or something like that. Just right there, like in Akron, and I don't know. I should have checked that. Cuyahoga. Okay. I can't pronounce all these names of whatever the counties or cities out there in some areas. But I wish I would have checked that out. I didn't know about all those covered bridges, Darlene. Huh. Eyes that are made from candy to decorate things for Halloween. Okay. When you were saying those eyes, the candied eyes, I was starting to think of like googly eyes, Google eyes, or something like that. Okay. That's cool, Debbie. Yeah, Adventures in Stamping. I missed that show quite a bit. When I stopped traveling, that was one of those that I really missed doing. I miss doing the whole circuit, but I don't know. We had gotten to, I don't know. I probably did 7 of those shows. I'm guessing over the years. That was on a regular circuit, though. That started to become a problem. I don't know. At some point in time, as I was mentioning in a previous videos, I became travel cursed. So it was like getting to that show, um, having flights canceled. I mean, like literally every single one, and then leaving the show too. We had flights canceled. It could have just been United too, because we were always flying on United. But I don't know. We were getting put up overnight in Las Vegas before, and coming back, they put us up in some place down in Akron area, and then United paid for a car service to drive us from Akron to Cleveland, but we were just not getting back when we needed to on all those trips, even Cincinnati and things like that. Canceled flights in between flying into Cincinnati and then going over to Columbus, when we needed to be in Cincinnati anyways, but it was just cheaper to fly into Columbus, stopping in Cincinnati, and it was insane. So I don't know. I just stopped flying. I thought, somewhere along the line, it's like getting worse and worse. But anyway, yeah. So this is a covered bridge in Ohio in the year 1870, right here. Anyway, all right. So, anyways, if you saw this piece, come into kind of focus right here, you saw how kind of, especially, I think it was looking like really kind of weird, and we're not certain, kind of which way it's going. Now, I knew it this time because I did that last piece, but when you just get into some of these things like this, and we're laying down those kind of vague kind of applications of lighting in the background like that and on our objects, you know what I mean? It doesn't look good, until you go through the process and you add on those kind of sharper, kind of complementary touches with your crisp applications, so the colored pencils, like these, and then these pens in here, at least in this technique, I believe so. And then you add in, these imagery in the background where you're adding, like white pigment ink over the top of it or something like that. Everything's looking diffused, but then you add in these crisp kind of finishing touches with foreground imagery and, those little dots in here. So foreground on the top and bottom in this case. And everything starts to come into focus a little bit more and balanced. I guess that's the word right here in terms of balance, in terms of the vague, like these types of things in here and the crisp right here. So they play off each other really nicely and add into a little bit more of a balanced scene like that. So if it's still looking kind of unbalanced to you, then, if it's too vague, then add in some more crisp touches like that. So on something like this too, sometimes things are still looking a little bit, kind of oh, just I guess unbalanced or uninteresting in some areas. So in something like this, sometimes I add in these little like nighttime scenes, little glowing orbs or something like that in the shadow areas, and that kind of finishing the pieces up really nicely, and it kind of adds in a little bit of more of a kind of a whimsical element, like a, we're going into like Disney territory or something like that, where you have these kind of hovering little orbs in the background, or something like this. If I think, that's kind of diffused and uninteresting or something like that, then you add in these crisp little elements down here, and that's where my little magical glowing orbs, you know what I mean? But it's not just because I want orbs in there or something a little hovering and whimsical, but it adds in that crisp element in here, like in here. And that tends to solve the, those different types of, whatever visual design problems or whatever, that can be resolved a little bit more with some kind of other element, so you just kind of, you can make things up, you know what I mean? And just add them in just for the sake of it. If it makes the pieces look better, then, we can do anything we want in stamping. It doesn't have to be like, going for like photorealism or something like that. So anyway, let's see. What did, what's so much fun to play with there? Linda. A roll, so much more economical. Wait, what roll did you get there? I'm scrolling back up here. I think I missed something here. Oh, glow in the dark eyeballs. Rather big, but looking forward to using them. Wait, glow in the dark eyeballs. Where did that come from? Huh. Glow in the dark eyes. I haven't thought to look at that. Are they like, I'll take a look at that. I'll look for them online. That sounds intriguing. They'd be perfect for the upcoming like Halloween imagery in the cards we'll be making from those. Oh, glow in the dark paper. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So these days, those glow in the dark from a few years ago, I didn't find it economical at all. So I didn't do too many scenes with that because it was the glow in the dark vinyl sticker paper. But I find it a little bit cheaper these days, in terms of price per sheet. So, where did that go? I don't know. I got it around here somewhere. Hello, Froggy Fresh. All right. Eyeballs in the scene. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, those little eyes in the bushes there, huh? Let me do something right here on my camera exposure. Yeah, that's a little bit more like this scene looks right here. I just exposed. I have all this white reflecting off of here, so it's making my scene a little bit or I don't know, or it was too dark and it was, I don't know, I had a little bit of glare on here, maybe. So that's the way this looks like right here. Glad you liked it, Bonnie. Thanks so much, everyone, for jumping in here and checking out the scene. As far as the scene, it's done, but we'll figure out whether this is going to be the interior, the exterior, and the interior like that. So people look at it like this. Like this. I got to throw that owl in here too, I think, or something like that. Maybe up there. Or if I had a little squirrel, I'd put it like scampering up the tree right here. But we'll figure out what to do with this, someday in time. Yeah. I don't know. I'm torn both ways. I think 50% it looks better on the interior, and 50% of me it says it looks better on the outside. But I don't know. I guess it depends on what I put on the outside too. So One of these years we'll figure it out. All right, thanks everyone. Hope you have a great rest of evening and weekend. If we don't see you, or if we don't jump on again sometime for another round of the, I don't know, some sort of exercise. I got this big batch of holographic cardstock that I want to try out too. So I thought about doing that. Then I thought, I want to get a little bit more of this done, especially in light of I was just doing some lessons using these tree trunks right here. I thought, I want to do, one of these again, that was really fun. So I don't know, play around with it. Do like a quarter page thing. If you haven't done this type of exercise on this type of paper before, just do a little quarter page thing and just keep it really simple, and see how you like it. I think you'll have fun with it though. But again, it looks kind of weird on those early stages sometime until you get to those, like I said, the detailed things, and that's when it all comes together. It might be the last step you do, you know what I mean, or last couple steps or something like that. But just keep developing it like that. All right, yeah, that's right. Holiday weekend here if you're in the U.S. So anyway, all right, everyone. Good night. If you have any questions, drop me a note in the comment section. Lynn, start doing those exercises for another 4 hours tonight, and we'll see how you're doing there. All right. Good night, everyone.